Welcome back to another episode of Review and Breakdown for Doom Patrol Season 3. We are already over halfway through the season. Can you believe it? There's only 10 episodes, and we just watched episode 7, so that means there's only 3 episodes left. Wow, feels like the show literally just started, last week, and it actually was literally just a couple weeks ago, but, man, we're already over halfway there, and, this show is just so good. The quality does not go down. I just can't say enough good things about Doom Patrol because there's no difference here in this episode, in episode 7, Bird Patrol, where things are really ramping up here with our main storyline with the Sisterhood of Dada, again, because we are approaching the end of the season, which, again, is just so insane. And, of course, we're also progressing our individual character stories as always, and there's some really interesting stuff going on there with each of the characters. Of course, we don't get huge things because there's so many characters that we just get little bits each episode, but I'm really liking what I'm seeing here. So anyway, quick spoiler warning if you've not yet seen this episode, because we are going to go ahead and break down Doom Patrol Season 3, Episode 7, Bird Patrol. So we start off the episode with the Sisterhood of Dada basically preparing for something. They're working on some sort of machine, and basically they announce that the Eternal Flagellation is happening tonight. So, whoa, a little short notice, but it's happening tonight, which is a big deal. And at this point, we still have no idea what the Eternal Flagellation even is. But we do find out by the end of the episode, and it's pretty crazy because I don't even know how to explain it. But anyway, let's get to talk about some individual storylines. Like, for example, Larry. We know he's been dealing with this weird bump that's been moving around on his body the past couple episodes. And we all thought that it was going to be, either a new negative or possibly positive spirit, like happened in the comics. But no, he actually just throws up, this weird slug-looking thing, and Madame Rouge says that, oh, that's a space parasite, so you have to burn it. And he doesn't burn it, he, leaves it out in the woods, so it's still alive, and it's still out there, so I have no idea what's going to come of that. Maybe it is still a spirit, it just hasn't, fully grown or something like that. I'm not really exactly sure what's going on here, but it's definitely really weird, really creepy, really messed up, but it's happening, and it did happen. And then we also have Vic, who, as we know, is, of course, dealing with the whole thing of wanting to get synthetic skin. So he's at the clinic, and he actually ends up talking to a doctor, and she tells him that if he gets this synthetic skin, that they'll have to take out all of his cyborgness, basically. So all of his high-tech stuff, like Grid, like his sonic cannon arm, like all the robot pieces of him, will have to be taken out, and he will no longer be cyborg. So that's something he kind of grapples with in this episode, is what would be, would it be worth it? So he actually ends up calling Ronnie, who is a character I completely forgot about, if I'm being honest. She's still on the run, and she basically tells him not to do it. But by the end of the episode, he's still kind of undecisive. Now, as for Cliff, of course, last episode, he was getting into some gambling and selling his roommate's stuff on eBay, so Jane's pretty mad at him for selling all his stuff, so she switches to one of her other personas and teleports him to Claire's house. So now he's at his daughter's house, he's returned once again, and he decides he's going to babysit Rory, which doesn't really go the best, but it also could have been worse. But not really much else happens there with his storyline in this episode. But then we have some more developments with Kay and Jane in the underground because someone stole Kay's bike. Of course, we know Kay got a bike because she went to the real world, got her own bike, and then came back, and somebody stole it. So she's super upset here in this episode. So Jane confronts the other personas, and yeah, they straight up stole it from her because they don't really care about Kay. They're just worried about themselves, which doesn't really make sense because, if Kay doesn't survive and if Kay isn't thriving, then they wouldn't be either because she's, the original person thing. So, their methods doesn't really completely make sense, but, you could kind of see where they're coming from, but at the same time, they're being a little stupid about it, if I'm being honest. But yeah, I'm definitely excited to see where things go there with the Underground in this season. Again, just a few episodes left, but we need to talk about the flashbacks here, because last week we had the flashbacks with Rita going back in time to 1917, but now she's been staying with them. She's known as Bendy now, and now it's 1949, and things have changed. specifically with Laura DeMille. So first of all, she hasn't been attending meetings, and she's just become really brutal and like sending everyone to the weapons program, and they even call her sour. So she's just not even part of the group anymore, and they like try to keep getting her back, but it's not working out. So the whole sisterhood is just super depressed, while you have both Rita and Malcolm kind of trying to cheer everybody up, but everybody's just super upset. And I do love how in this scene, you had Malcolm wearing a mask. You had Malcolm and Rita both wearing masks, and Malcolm is wearing a mask that looks very similar to how he looked when Rita saw him in the afterlife back in episode 3, because you don't know, that was actually him. That is the same character. That's something I didn't even realize last episode, but that was him. So I really like that reference with the mask there. But then they decide, all right, why don't we begin the Eternal Flagellation? So they come up with that whole plan and want Laura to come help them out, and basically they fill her in on the plan and say like, hey, we're going to do the Eternal Flagellation. We want you to be a part of this. But then we get back to present day, and it kind of starts flashing back and forth between 1949 and 2021, where in present day, fog surrounds all of the Doom Patrol members. So Vic, Cliff, Jane, Larry, and Madame Rouge are all teleported somewhere, where then all of the Doom Patrol are forced to dance. They're doing these weird dances. Everyone there is dancing except for Madame Rouge, and then the same exact thing happens in the past. All of the Sisterhood of Dada members start dancing, and they're doing the same exact movements, while Laura DeMille is just standing there watching. And then in present day, she starts reenacting what happened back in 1949. She starts getting her own flashbacks, and then it's basically a reenactment of what happened back then. So you see that she actually ended up ratting out the Sisterhood to the Bureau of Normalcy, which back in 1917 it was known as the Bureau of Oddities, but then over the course of time it changed to the Bureau of Normalcy, which basically stands for the opposite of everything that the Sisterhood stands for. So Laura DeMille goes through and marks every single one of them as a weapon, and then you have Malcolm, who of course can turn invisible, so that's what he does as soon as the guards show up. But then he tries to save Rita, and of course one of the guards kills him, and it was so sad. I mean, we didn't really get as much of Malcolm as I wanted to in this episode, because I really liked the character in last week's episode. I really wanted to see more of him before he died, but at least now we see how he died, we see how he ended up in the afterlife, and again you have that reference with the mask there, so that was pretty cool. But this shows you why the Sisterhood of Dada hate Laura DeMille so much, because that was a big thing last episode, or no, not last episode, the episode before last episode, episode 5, when we were introduced to this sisterhood, why they were so upset with Laura DeMille, and this is why, because she completely ratted them out to the Bureau of Normalcy. So after the death of Malcolm, Rita turns into a blob and then is able to escape. And then all of a sudden we flash back to present day, where Rita is now suddenly there. She is now suddenly back with the Doom Patrol, but now she is a member of the Sisterhood of Dada. So then they're all teleported away, and we see, I think it's Malcolm. I'm not sure if he's alive or what's going on here, but it's this giant egg with Malcolm's face on it, with like wings and stuff, inside a giant bird cage, very similar to the bird cage that he had inside of his chest. So the sisterhood basically says that tells Laura to free Malcolm to atone for what she did, and she says, no, I atoned for what I did that night. So she doesn't care anymore now that she remembers who she is. She doesn't care at all. She doesn't care for the sisterhood at all. But then somehow the cage still ends up opening up, and a bunch of birds just pop out, and then Madame Rouge turns into a bird and flies up with them. So I'm not sure what's going on. Again, this show is so confusing, but that's like the beauty of it, is there's so many ways to interpret it and then theorize about it until we actually get the actual answers next week. But after she disappears into the flock of birds, all of a sudden these bird egg things with Malcolm's face on them start diving down towards the Doom Patrol, and then just hit each and every single one of them, and then they poof into like it's like a poof of yellow energy, and they're just gone. So I, again, no idea what's happening here. Like, did they die again? Or did they just get teleported somewhere? I have no idea. Is that Malcolm? There are so many questions that I have after this. But, again, that's the beauty of this show. It's so confusing. but in a good way. It's such a good show, and I'm so excited to see where things go in these last 3 episodes. Things are really ramping up here. But guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What did you think about this crazy ending to Doom Patrol Season 3, Episode 7, Bird Patrol? Because, woo, the birds really do show up. I just have no idea what they're doing. So, of course, let me know all your thoughts, theories, and predictions in the comments below. And thanks for watching. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this video, and hit the subscribe button so I can keep you up to date on everything that goes on in the DC life.